All right, what do we want to talk about?
Like, we get geared up so much for the holidays, right? Like for Christmas, there's this big build up and like all the stores are decorated. Everybody's like, there's all this stuff, right? And then, COVID's hit. So it's like, okay, wow, what does that represent? Like, what does it look like for all of us? Like, for me, it's lockdown. Like, our restaurants are closed again, gyms are closed. Like, we have limited capacity in stores, like all that kind of stuff. So it
Yeah,
sounds
we
like a
don't have
good
that
thing.
here.
No, I know. But I mean, is there still a letdown? I mean, maybe this is not a good topic for
No, I think it is,
Yeah.
because I do think it is that you have this hype and everything. And so maybe something didn't happen around the holidays that you were hoping to happen, or somebody didn't react to a Christmas gift, or someone complained they didn't get what they wanted to. Like, what was your letdown from? What could be a holiday letdown? We might not have had a holiday letdown, but what could be some holiday letdowns?
Well, some could be for us in British Columbia, there was don't go socialize or get families together. What was the requirements? No more than 10 people or no more than 2 households. So, that's a letdown because and they wanted everyone to be vaccinated too. So now how do you navigate through that?
Mhm.
That's pretty hard with family and friends and gatherings. So that's a letdown.
I think
do-
so. Yeah.
I do think the way the world is, the state of the world right now is
Yeah.
causing letdowns in that magnitude
Yeah.
of things. I think another, because of the state of the world, letdown is, how do I want to say, people can't always have the holiday that they wish they have had in the past. So it might
Yes.
not be the people around, it could be the ability to buy the presents, or it could be the availability of foods, or where they're living, or what is going on in that aspect of it. So I do think that's brought some form of holiday letdowns. But do you think there's a holiday letdown after the holidays are done? Because now we go into back of, there's no reason to see people, there's no forms of celebrations, there's like, we hype up, you hit Thanksgiving. For us, it's November. For you guys, it's October. And then you go until it's Christmas time. And then you have New Year's, and then poof, there's nothing. I don't know. Do you feel that's a letdown?
For me, it's not. It's a little bit of a relief. No, because usually what happens is January, February, then we go on these little ski weekends with friends. And so we've done this amazing time with family and friends and what you just described. And then, Christmas tree's gone, all my decorations are gone, and it's a clean slate, new year. And it's like, okay, and now we're going to start it off with fun. So the letdown would be more that we didn't get to see the people we wanted to. And our kids we're at an age where gifts are, no one's going to get pissy about the gift they gave them. And if they are, grow up.
So,
they're old. I've got older kids. I don't like little kids. That's different. They're little.
Yeah.
This is, excitement.
do you think social media scrolling has caused people to feel let down about their holidays? So look at how their holiday was, or we don't measure up to that person within the holidays, or that type of stuff.
I think social media scrolling can let people down on their lives, period. Doesn't have to be a holiday. There's that whole, look at this person over here. And what's so interesting is that, you look at what that person is doing in order to create this perfect life on camera, and you know, a lot of them are very lonely. There's depression, there's all sorts of things because it's not real. It's not a real, you know, they have this whole fake persona going on, and it's just not there. I think we have to be really careful about what feeds it is that you actually want to engage in and be a part of. Like, there's the whole business aspect, as we're all business women, there's that whole part of it. But I mean, I have a totally separate feed altogether that is just for my own enjoyment if I want to scroll. So it's like, you know, and I subscribe only to those things that make me smile. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, like places to go. I love the Royals. So like there's the stuff about the Royals. There's, you know, just different places that I think would be amazing to go vacation at or whatever. So I have a totally separate feed for that.
Yeah, I don't. Mine's intertwined, but I do put boundaries around where I scroll. Absolutely. And because I know of my faults, I know there's nobody's perfect. I don't care how anybody tries to be. There is nobody who is perfect in this world. There isn't. I will argue with anybody. And I know there's especially women that try to be that, to show that perfect facade. And so when I look at something, I try to visualize, am I admiring it or am I jealous of it? And if I'm jealous of it, why? And does it serve me?
Mm-hmm.
But do you think the majority of people believe it?
I do think there are people that believe it, to not a majority, but I do think there's enough people that believe that because unfortunately, their own self-worth is unbalanced.
Right.
So now they're finding their self-worth within that scrolling.
Right. Right.
I mean, comparison has always been around, right? It's a bad thing. It's just like certainly when I was growing up, the only people I could compare myself to are people I could visually see or have in my little world or whatever magazine I happened to pick up, right? It was like very, very limited. Now it's like huge, right? That comparison for, you know, certainly for women growing up and, you know, women in their early, you know, 20s, late teens, 30s, you know, that comparison can be really, really difficult to navigate because it's their world is so much bigger in terms of what they can see.
Yeah, I think especially if you have a limiting belief about yourself and you go out and especially I think for younger women, if they go out and do the scrolling and, you know, you have these models that are super thin and the perfect clear skin and the beautiful hair and all of these aspects of everything. That's what, unfortunately, we are teaching some of our women that's what they hook onto, you know, that's the way of life. And life is imperfect. People are imperfect. And you need to embrace and love who you are right this second. If you want to make improvements, absolutely. We all should, you know, be the best version of ourselves. But I agree with you, Tracy. We compare ourselves and then we get that thought process that then brings these limiting beliefs into our brain.
I agree with you guys. I was just thinking though, with that, does that like, let me see if I can gather my thoughts. So as a young person, are you kind of missing out on your childhood because you're comparing yourself to social media? And I'm a 10-year-old girl and I'm comparing myself to a 19-year-old who I'm following. And so I'm not out doing 10-year-old girl stuff now. I'm getting myself all done up. I'm trying to mirror that reality or that what looks like reality. Like are they missing out on a lot because of it?
I do think that's a possibility. I mean, I don't have a young child around me, but I do think that can be a possibility. just think, I can already tell, growing up, we had the teen magazines, and you looked at the girl with, okay, so you don't see it now, but you've seen it in previous recordings, I have curly hair. So back then you didn't have the straighteners or whatever, and so you would try to, like, I was envious of that straight hair. Like curly hair wasn't a thing back then. And I know this is just a minute thing, but you looked in those magazines and that's what you were doing that comparison to. And so I wasn't ashamed, but it was like, oh, I got curly hair. I just, it's not that long hair, where I wish I had embraced it more
Right.
back then. So I do think, like Tracy E said, there's been that comparison all the way around all the time. And I just think now that it's so, you just can find it everywhere. If you didn't buy a magazine, you would have never seen that. Not all households had multiple TVs and all of that aspects. Now it's, everywhere and easily found.
I think it just, even growing up, like I remember, going through, like you said, like, 17, I don't even know if they have that magazine anymore, but
yeah, I don't know.
Like 17 was a big thing for me. And I remember looking at that, and I wasn't 17, and thinking that's the goal. That's the goal, right? Yeah. It's like, I got to look like that. And what is it that I need to do in order to look like that? Did it take away anything in terms of what did I do? Probably not, I would say, but did it erode my self-confidence, my self-worth? Yes, absolutely it did. Absolutely it did.
Because well, it was defining what you should be, right?
Yeah,
and
there was,
here you go, Tracy, this is what you should be.
Yeah, and there was just no way. There was no way I could be these people in the magazine. There was just no way. I mean, Twiggy was my idol. I was like, oh my God, I just wanted to be
her.
Yeah. And it's like, my bone structure isn't even like her. Like, it's just physically not even possible. But that was always the goal. It was like, okay, I just have to get that skinny. I just have to be that. And I still think that that's a really problematic thing that young girls, right from young girls, are growing up with even today. And I think it could be even worse from their standpoint in terms of what's available to look at. And not only what's available to look at, there was one thing about having a magazine and looking at the magazine, but now social media allows these girls to engage in conversations, in posts, in all of that, where we never really had the chance to do that, right? It wasn't like you were going to write to a magazine and, ask them a question or say something. I mean, some people did, but you know what I mean? Right. It's just, it's a totally different environment from that standpoint.
For males too, though, for young, I feel like on both sides, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think they do just as much comparison as we do. I mean, why would they not, right? It's like in front of them constantly, just like it is in front of girls constantly about, this is what you want. This is the perfection.
I do think it's good to find different role models that you can take pieces from, but you can't be that person. You can't, because that person's not perfect either. Like, I think young people, and even for myself, I have my own people who I consider role models or mentors or things like that. I think social media can be good in that aspect of following certain people that uplift you, give you education, role model aspects, and so there are good parts of it, but I do think that it's gotten too much of that comparison aspect that really deter a girl's feeling about herself. If I'm not a Twiggy, then I'm fat. No, you're not. That's not correct.
And it hasn't changed over the years. Like you're talking about Twiggy, and we're in 2022, and it's still the same comparisons.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yep.
still the same.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Like,
So how do we stop that? Like how do you not let that be pervasive in young people's lives so that they grow up and they don't want to do that, or they realize that they're doing it and they have the ability to take themselves out of that and say, no, that's not healthy. I'm not going to do that. Like, that's hard.
That is.
right. And they're going to use these platforms. So I don't think it's a matter of taking it away. It's more of exposing what it is. And that's why earlier I was saying, like, how many actually believe it? Because I think the younger generations are understanding a little bit more of that it's not real. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. It's not an area of expertise of mine, but I know when I'm talking to somebody of a younger generation, my goal is always to interact with them, that they have a feeling of value, that they have, you might not be, girls, as they grow through, we're going back into that infamous menstrual cycle aspect things, but as a girl's growing and her body's changing or whatever, you have a whole different body composition as you're going through 10, 11, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, that they get these body image aspects that stick with them for a long time. And my goal when I'm talking to my granddaughters or a niece or somebody is that I make sure that they understand how beautiful they are, no matter where they are within that transition, and that they're growing up to be the person they're meant to be.
How do we get them to believe it?
Yeah, well,
that's the
right?
thing.
Because you're telling them.
Yeah.
Do they believe it?
My hope is that they do. And it's just, for me, it's just reiteration of that with them. But I don't know if that's a simple answer.
Yeah.
How do you get them to believe that? I mean, because it takes everybody that they're interacting with to have that understanding. It's from the schools to their friends, to their home life, to their social life, to have that belief.
And this is and that's the thing, like, we have to understand where a belief actually even comes from, right? Like, a belief is something that we are told either over and over and over again, or it's something we witness over and over and over again, or it's something that we have personally experienced. And that's where we get our beliefs from. So it's really hard when, even though it's not said, you pick up the magazines and everybody's perfect in the magazines, and you like looking through the magazines because there's nice clothes, there's nice whatever. And it's a natural thing to go, well, it looks great on her because of the way she looks. If I was to wear that, it's not going to look good, right? Like, how do you, even though it's not like, oh, this is who you have to be, physically, it's there constantly in you're bombarded by it constantly. And whether it's through magazines, people on TV, like people on social media, like, there's always this, I don't know what to call it, but there's just always these images. And while it's not actually said, I believe that it's just, it just gets rooted in women's psyches, little girl psyches, and then you carry it through. So maybe what happens is that you can't stop it from happening. You have to deal with it at an older age. I don't know. To say, hey, you know what, you're worth more than what you physically look like, and try to, I don't know how you help young children grow up to believe that their worth is not tied up in their physicality, whether it be boys in sports and also physically what they look like, you know, girls, like, I don't know. I don't know what that answer is.
Yeah.
Don't? Come on, Tracy. We're solving world problems here. Come on.
If we could solve this world
Yeah.
problem, we
Yeah.
would move on to other world problems.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is sad because they might believe in themselves, but then the comparison game shows up and then all of a sudden it's gone, right?
Yeah,
Like
I don't think we can stop that. So I think it's, what do you do to help them realize what their self-worth is right from the get-go, and try to keep reinforcing that over and over and over and over and over again, so that even though they may compare themselves to somebody, they still can look at themselves and go, I'm okay.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
Like I'm okay. Yeah, that's pretty good, but I'm okay.
Right.
And that's
I love
ultimately,
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can be you, and that looks phenomenal. And I really like that outfit you've got on. And that would be great to have. But you know what, I'm still me, and I'm okay exactly as I am right now. It's having that internal self-worth and believing that you truly are okay exactly as you are,
Yep.
and teaching that to kids. And it's, I don't know.
I don't know. That's a
I
hard
don't
one.
know either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we should ponder on that.
Yeah.
How can we save that world problem?
Yeah. Maybe somebody out there has an answer. Let us know.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.